TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Memories of your first WrestleMania.
Oh God, first WrestleMania. That was Rick the Model Martel. It was awesome. It was actually the Hoosier Dome.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis. Huge. I mean, of all buildings to be in, I mean, everybody would say, well, Madison Square Garden, but the reason it was so, I want to say overwhelming to me, not overwhelming that I was like shy, but the Hoosier Dome, when you get inside of it, it's so much bigger. It just looks huge inside. It's got a different look, and
right.
The ceiling's so high up. So that building just looks so big, and on the inside it looks so big. And then here I am, on a WrestleMania with a sold out audience,
right.
with millions and millions and millions of people watching live. And of all people, here I am with Rick the Model Martel, who I've watched on TV for all these years beforehand. I'm going to step into the squared circle and do battle with it.
Right.
It was just tremendous. It's great, a great memory to not only be on a WrestleMania, but to be in the squared circle with such a veteran like Rick the Martel.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what are your memories of Rick Martel?
Oh, fantastic. I every time I speak about him, it's always been high, greatest of thanks, great honor and respect to him, because that's who I first stepped into the ring with. My first issue was with him. He stole my eagle feathers, okay, and he put them into his model hat, cap, and look at this new look that I have from Paris, France. And he was just so good. He brought the best out of it, because when he would cut an interview, it would make you want to cut an interview so good, because his interview was so good. You couldn't do a sorry interview, because here you are, great guys like that, they bring out the best in other people. Right. And that's how Rick the Model Martel was. He was so good. He bring the best out in myself. And he drove me to do good interviews and better interviews. And working in the ring with him, I got better and better and better. And then, man, our angle just took off. And before we knew it, we went from first match to, wow, we need to put Tatanka and Martel here. So it was really responding. But, man, I'm just so thankful to him, because he taught me so many things, and he taught me so many things that I didn't realize I was even learning at the time until later on.
Yeah, WWF is really like interview oriented. So where did you pretty much pick up how to do interviews? Did you pick up training at the?
At Monster Factory, we did a few interviews, not a lot. We did a few. We stood there with a mic and got in front of a camera and did a few interviews. I think the biggest thing that with interviews is where you see people really mess up with interviews is being scared in front of this thing.
Yeah.
You got to just be yourself, and you can't be scared about that little camera sitting in front of you. I think most people, that's why they can't be the best interview, because they're starting to think more about the camera instead of just being themselves, like The Rock, the interviews that he would cut. But he wasn't worried about that. Just charisma and boom, bam, bam, Hulk Hogan and all the guys, they would just do their thing. So we never actually sat there and practice interviews, but you would think it over and think it over and think it over and think it over. And I think the biggest thing that made you work so good on interviews is not being shy of the camera. And number two, it was so great, like I said before, working with Rick the Model Martel, that when he cut an interview and you're in an issue with him, that interview was so good that you go, God, I got to hit a good interview, because it's going to take our elevated even more. If you give a junky interview, it's just not doing him any justice either. So that's what's so great about our business back then, was we worked with each other to elevate things to a higher level.
Did you have any favorite opponents or any least favorite opponents?
Well, again, I was just so thankful in my career at WWF, but WWE, because again, got it started out with Rick the Model Martel, then it went right to Bam Bam, then went to Yokozuna. Probably the only person I really wasn't crazy about working with. I still had a blast working, because I would work around things. I would, Borga, Then I went to IRS, and then I went to Lux. I mean, there was nobody there that non-favorable. All those angles lasted for a full year.
Right.
I stayed with that person for a full year, so it was fantastic. There was really no one that I didn't like working with, and it was so great at WWF, WWE, because there were so many stars. There's really not guys that you're going to step in the ring during that time. That was just terrible. Pretty much everybody was very, very good wrestlers when I was there in the 90s.
TitleMatchNetwork.com